pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Vicki Petting.
Here.
Frank Myers.
Here.
Jan Brons.
Here.
George Weiner.
Here.
Jamie Bowman.
Here.
Ed Luttrell. Frank Roth. Alderman Teddy Ross.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. And we have approval of the agenda for the April 28th, 2014 meeting.
Motion to approve.
No,
Second.
wait.
Motion, second, any discussion?
Okay, motion and a second, then discussion.
I want to apologize to the Gettingers. They submitted an application for a certificate of appropriateness that covers the vinyl window installation and cement board siding, which you will notice since you had a copy of the certificate of appropriateness. But when I prepared my staff report, I was looking at the building permit application that didn't include the cement board siding. So my discussion and recommendation didn't include that item. I'd like to amend the agenda to add the cement board siding for your consideration, and I would add a recommendation for approval when you get to that line item.
Okay. Now, we have an amended agenda, if you will.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, approval of minutes from the March 17th meeting.
Motion to approve.
My second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. We have,
This is new.
this is new, introduction of evidence. Okay, that's a new one.
It is?
Yeah.
As I was preparing the staff reports, it occurred to me that every staff report was 10 pages long, and that portions of that staff report was just a reprinting of the codes and ordinances, which was Brenda's attempt to get that entered into evidence. So it was well intended, but in my opinion, not necessary. This is an evidentiary hearing, so the information you consider when you make your decisions becomes evidence in a case, which if it ever did go to litigation would have to be properly entered. So what we're going to do from now on, instead of reprinting 6 pages of the design guidelines and the historic preservation ordinance, I'm going to, or whoever is in this chair in my stead, is going to introduce the evidence. And the evidence I'm about to introduce will apply to all of the cases you consider. We don't have to kill any more trees to get the evidence introduced. So at this time, I would like to introduce the following evidence to be considered in the cases that are on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The historic preservation ordinance, the design guidelines, and the staff reports with their respective case files, subject to a motion for approval. Somebody moves approval of the evidence if you choose to use it.
Motion to approve.
My second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Going on. Commission business, we have HPCA #140428A, a request to construct a fence at 1290 Market Street in the H2 district. And we've now quit using the H1 and H2, it's all H1.
No, we haven't. Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. I thought we had done that a year ago.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, we had put it under one.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all in very well with it.
Well, doesn't matter. Okay, who would like to speak to that? Would you
Is it your application?
It's my application.
Yeah, you really ought to come up and...
come up and just sit there. Tell us who you are.
Susan Broussard.
Okay, and you live at
1290 Market.
1290 Market Street, okay? And unfortunately, I am just getting this, so this is for to construct a fence. You want to tell us about your project?
I have no fencing on the side, okay, because I do have a corner lot. So I'd like to put a fence on the left side of my yard. I do have it was pre-constructed when I bought the house, a galvanized fencing, and I'd like to put a 6-foot fence on that side. And then on the side by the street lane, I'd like to put a 44-inch fence.
Okay.
And it's a picket fence, so it's not a solid fence. You can see through it, and if you have my drawings, it's 27 feet from the corner of the house to the corner of the street, so it does not obstruct traffic in any way. I do have a dog, and also for safety measures, I wanted to be able to put a fence up.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
The fence on the left side of the home, I wanted to put a 6-foot fence up to block the neighbors.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? What is the materials? that this-
Wood.
Wood,
They would all-
wooden
it would be-
fence?
yes.
Wooden picket fence,
So,
okay.
in the staff report, the 6-foot fence is made of wood or vinyl, so it's striped vinyl way.
Well, wood or vinyl was in the application, so apparently she's decided.
I think it's going to be wood. I'm not sure. I haven't got it yet.
And just for the record, there's 44-inch, and then the document says 42-inch.
42 was the
I was
application.
mistaken. I called Brenda and told her it was 44.
Okay, well, there wasn't any record of
And also on the page, one paragraph, the second page, one paragraph says the 1290 Market Street is a non-contributing building. And the next paragraph under specific findings is a contributing building.
it. Well, that's my own problem. I had trouble figuring out what was contributing and non-contributing, but,
So you take one of each.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just pick one,
I
yeah.
believe it's non.
I think
Further
it is, yeah.
discussion.
The only thing I'd like to raise, and it applies, I think, to several of the projects this evening, is that page 354, paragraph H10B, which there is a copy of that here, is that has the statement, a fence or wall should not exceed 4 feet in height.
So the 6-foot fence
Yes.
is a
Now, the
problem.
wording is should not.
Excuse me, where is that reference?
It's on this.
This is the page that's sent along with it.
It's in the packet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the rest of that section talks about fencing in the front and side yards. And that's kind of why that other extra item is on the agenda
Yeah.
for tonight. And side yards on corner lots. So arguably, a fence that isn't on the front or on the front or the side of a corner lot would not be subject to that restriction.
The 6-foot would be on the opposite
Would
side.
be
where
on
there's already a
opposite side of, yeah.
Not on the street side.
Okay.
It's between the properties, and it's usually privacy from your neighbor, right?
Yes.
That's what you want to do.
Which is typical all over town.
Right, right. I believe we've had fences come before us that were 6 foot, not in the front and not on the street side, but we've approved those, I believe. This is all thinking out of my memory, you know. So are you objecting to the 6-foot
No,
fence?
I'm bringing it up tonight because we have had our discussions on this in the past, and tonight I think there's 2 or 3 projects that has to be decided. If we decide that that restriction on height only applies to a corner lot,
Or a front yard.
Our front yard.
or a front,
yeah.
well, the corner lot has a front, two front yards, yeah. If that's, I mean, if that's the way we're interpreting it, that's fine. But I think we should be consistent tonight and
Going forward.
go
Yeah.
forward.
The only concern I have with that, with the 6-foot fence between the two properties that face Market, if that comes all the way to the front, will that block the view?
It's not coming to the
It's
front.
not coming
Now, look
It's
at,
in that
Oh,
picture.
okay. Okay.
I have it situated right behind the air conditioner, so you don't see the air conditioner from the street. It would look much nicer than an air conditioner, so.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
And then on the same length down the house on the other side.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, then,
Any other questions? Would anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request for certificate.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think there should be the recommendation that it be a wooden fence.
she stated a wooden fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you have a problem with us making this?
No.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Do we want to add, let's go back to Jan's motion. Do you want to recommend that to be a wooden fence? Or would you rather let
Yeah,
your
let's-
motion stand?
Well, I make a motion to approve the request for certificate of appropriateness, given the applicant's agreement to use wood fence for the 6-foot part,
Okay,
or wood for all of them.
okay. Then,
Same thing.
same thing, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Very good, thank you.
Come up here and get my permit.
You can come to City Hall, where they need to see.
See Jimmy Jones for your building permit.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
He'll be here tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay, then HPCA number 14428B, a request to demolish a mobile home located at 601 DuPont Street, not in the historic district. Is there someone here to talk about this issue?
No.
No, okay. Does anybody like to talk about this issue, or are you just,
Based on the evidence that we have, the butterness we have, and the location, I would make a recommendation that we approve the request.
I would second that.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Then HPCA number 140428C, a request to replace 9 existing wood vinyl windows with vinyl windows and the addition of planning to replace the siding with cement board siding. Is there someone here that can talk? Please join us right here. Thank you. Want to tell us about your project?
No, we bought the house on Lane Street, and the windows are in pretty bad shape. Leak quite a bit of air, I'm sure. We was wanting to replace them with vinyl windows and replace the siding, with, right now it has asbestos siding. We was wanting to replace it with hardy board siding.
Okay. Questions, anybody?
Are the wooden windows beyond repair?
One of them is completely torn out, there's air conditioner in place of it. The other ones they're pretty bad shape. They're not really, all of them aren't contacting the base anymore. There's a lot of air space around them. One of them is already a aluminum window, so.
Will the new replacement windows be the same size so that the
Yeah,
framing-
I would want to make them, I don't want to really change the look of the house any. I like I like the old look. I would like to make them, what I want to do is replace the wood on the outside and put probably, there's a hardy board, makes it looks like wood, but it's made out of the same material as hardy board, and replace all of it so it looks that way and it's won't rot out, and you can paint it, looks exactly like the original stuff, and then put the vinyl windows in, so.
It's a non-contributing building, I think, to our ordinances, and it will not, you will not change any of the framing, cut away any of the framing to...
That's not my plan is not. My plan is to leave them so they look exactly the same on the outside. The only one, the back of the house has, the one that's the aluminum window, we was wanting to change its size so that we can have a cabinet inside. Right now it's full size. And we was wanting to make a smaller window, and that's one of the listed, we had a list of windows.
And the siding is, I think that's an excellent idea.
The hardy board is cement board.
Oh, yeah, you can't from a distance, unless you walk up to it, you can't tell hardy board siding. We do it, we want to go with probably the 4-inch so it looks like it was original, so.
Make a motion to approve the vinyl windows sizes as listed and the hardy board for the siding.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Further questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. And a fence at 289 Merchant Street in the Historic District.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. What else is it? You can see by the pictures of a little bit of the fence that's left. We started tearing it out already because it just needed to come out. You can see the post where the chain link fence was, and that's really on the property line. And then there was a wooden fence, and you can see again where the posts are, about 4 feet away from it. And that was put in when it was a daycare and left room for people to walk in between the chain link fence and the wooden fence to get to the apartment. Well, the chain link fence got hit by a backhoe and it was all dented up and looked pretty bad. So I just want to take the wooden fence, move it where the chain link fence was, extend it a little longer, and it actually creates another probably will create another parking place back there. So it's just kind of moving the fence 4 feet.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
This is behind Catwalk?
Right. Understand.
Basically a service area.
Right, yeah, and as you can see, there's a grease dumpster there and a thing, store cardboard boxes, so it does hide a lot back there.
So this is actually behind Marsh Shoe Store?
Yes, right.
Seems like that would be a good thing, to hide it behind a wooden fence rather than a chain link fence.
So does it come out right from the corner of Myers Shoe Store or the other building?
Actually, the other building, it's
Okay.
a little long listed there. It actually comes out from the corner of the 2-story building.
Right there with the metal poles on, that's what
Right.
I'm gonna replace.
Right.
I misunderstood where.
Okay.
Sorry.
The overhead drawing view is correct, as far as the line of the fence.
Any other questions?
I can entertain a motion to approve.
We have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, sorry, didn't hear that. A motion and a second. Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
Thank you.
I did notice something on our agenda. It says that Tom Couch is the aldermanic liaison.
That was
Yeah, that threw me too.
The mayor had assignments made up, and I had to do the staff report before we had the Board of Aldermen meeting where the assignments were distributed. And Tom and Teddy agreed to switch. Tom took the park board, and Teddy took landmarks because of his abiding interest in our
Because I like
affairs.
you guys.
Okay. Well, and we're glad to have you.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, and I should have welcomed you right off, because I was thinking, did I miss the last
Well,
meeting?
I started reading and I was like, well, it's the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, welcome, Teddy, and thanks.
thank you,
And
Becky.
and I guess to make it clear, because someone else asked, another liaison, after months of being liaison, said, I guess I don't get to talk. And you do get, if you'd like to enter into the discussion, you can do that. You cannot vote, but you can
Right.
enter into the discussion and ask questions. Okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we have request HPCA #140428E, a request to construct a fence at 116 North 2nd Street. Do we have somebody here?
No, Mr. Prosser came in, we had discussions with him, he expressed his regrets, he's out of town tonight.
Okay.
But I told him that I thought we could consider it without his
You just said
presentation.
North 2nd Street, it's North
Sixth
6th.
Street.
North
Sixth,
6th
yeah.
Street, sorry. I can't read, obviously.
You can get confused.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's better than me not being able to type, I might add.
Okay, yeah. I always say I can't type, I can spell, but I can't type. Okay, North 6th Street.
I am not sure that that building is inside the National Historic Landmarks and National
It's
Register.
like, just is, I think.
I show it just out.
Okay, well, then you don't have to consider it.
Yeah,
The property line is right there.
right there, that's it? Okay,
Then we're done?
then we're done.
No, you're not, we're done with cases.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
With this one.
That's fine.
Okay, then this is okay because they're not in the historic district. Okay, any old business? Any new business? Okay,
All right, as Frank brought up, it's kind of an agenda of fences caused me to think and review with some level of detail the design guidelines and the ordinances of the city relative to fences. The statement under B states that a fence that defines the front yard or side yard is usually low to the ground and transparent in nature, or but shouldn't be over 4 feet in height. But then solid stockade fences that do not allow views in front or are inappropriate raise the question of whether we want to regulate under this ordinance fences that aren't in the front or on the side or the second front, as Frank pointed out, of buildings on corner lots. And even more to the point, the building permit, which is denied if a certificate of appropriateness is not issued, is issued for any construction, alteration, is required before any architectural appearance of a landmark or any structure within the historic district may be untaken. There is the question of whether a fence is a structure. We have no standards for fences in the building code. So we issue a permit for a fence, but there's no requirements as to how it should be built or no inspection performed as a consequence of the permit being issued. We don't keep an inventory of fences. We are questioning whether a building permit for a fence even makes sense under the building code. If under the building code, we determine that we don't need to issue a building permit, then there would be no certificate of appropriateness for fences required.
okay.
I don't think I want to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. I mean, but I wanted to kind of talk to you about what do you think our policy ought to be? Is there kind of a middle ground? I don't know that we want to never regulate a fence. I think it'd be, because, through the permit process, we might be able to anticipate problems. Maybe there is a view shed that's being blocked, or, I don't know.
Is this a discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it is not in the purview of the Landmarks Commission, but there still would be the permitting process?
No, I'm saying,
If-
that I'm not sure Landmarks should be issuing a certificate of appropriateness for any fence that isn't in the front or down the side of a lot that is on a corner. That's the possible interpretation of the design guidelines.
Well, the reason that I asked that lady on the corner market in Blaine about her fence was because when I read it, I thought it was going to be on the line, but I guess it was obvious when I looked at the yellow line. But if a person were to put a barrier between those two houses and it went all the way to Market, that is not.
Then it
a-
would be in front of the house.
Right, and then, but if we didn't give certificate of appropriateness, is what would stop them from doing that for a fence?
You would be, if we interpret this language as one possible interpretation, any fence that protrudes beyond the front line of the house would have to be certificated.
Okay.
So you can't build a fence
Oh, okay.
beyond the front of your house, but you could fence the back of your house.
Even along the sides?
And the sides up to the front
Up to
building.
the front.
Right,
Okay.
Okay.
just being
Go
clear.
go over to, the same paragraph that we've been discussing goes on to say in the second part of it, zealot stockade features do not allow views in the front yards and are inappropriate. However, they may be considered for French colonial structures and in backyards. So it does
Anticipate backyard consideration.
it anticipates that we'll be looking at them, I believe.
So, again, I'm still not clear. What are we trying to get to?
Should we continue to issue certificates of appropriateness for fences
That are
in
not in front
backyards?
of the perimeter? The
In
facade.
front of the facade, yeah.
But you will still have.
I'm not
permit.
convinced that's going to happen either.
What?
If we do away with the building permit for fences,
Mhm.
We probably
then
won't ever see.
there's no, doesn't trigger a certificate of appropriateness anywhere.
Well, right, let's say we do away with the certificate, but require the permit. Because we, just in the last year, we've had a request for an 8 or a 10-foot fence. There was a lot of discussion about that.
Yeah, that's the one that was in my head.
Mhm.
Yeah, on six.
And if we
Yeah.
don't have the permitting process that says this is a permit for a 6-foot or less high fence, then you could have
10-foot high.
castle walls.
Yeah. And if we do that, they could build it all the way to the front. What would stop them from doing that without, if there's no permit or certificate of appropriateness or a
was saying.
building permit, what's to stop people from taking their fence all the way to the street?
Nothing.
An ordinance?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But we could commit, we
Yeah.
could amend the certificate of appropriateness ordinance to say building permits are required for any fence that
Goes-
exceeds the front building line, and that certificate of appropriateness is subject to the design guidelines. We could cover it that way.
I would certainly move to approve it, to.
But you wouldn't want that,
Endorse that.
even then, you wouldn't want the fence to go above a certain height. So
But that's
maybe
my
it would
point.
be
Right,
fences
Up to 6 feet.
up to 6 feet that are down the side or back for lots that aren't on a corner.
Right, perfect.
Okay,
There's a great variety of fences that can't be used, and most of them are appropriate for, we're considering appearance as much as construction appropriateness in something
Yeah.
like this. And there's a great variety of fences that can be used, some which add to the quaintness of a village, others that detract significantly. And somehow we have to, if the thing is visible, we have to somehow protect that visibility. That appearance.
Well, if I wanted to build on a house, I'm going to come out from the sides of my house and then down the line and across the back. Some portion of that, on either side of the house to the property line, will be visible. And so it's,
You also
Is
have
that
a
your
neighbor,
concern?
you also probably have a neighbor in the backyard.
yeah, but
That's their backyard too,
Yeah.
obviously.
And if I have.
what is the
a nice-
role, what is the role of the Landmarks Commission for determining what fences should be built on the back property line?
It isn't us.
It's never has
in
been.
the ordinance.
Well,
It's your-
that's what I'm asking.
We've never been asked to offer a certificate or.
You've been approving a certificates of appropriateness for backyard enclosures for properties.
Sure.
The one that he's talking about, they wanted, what was it, an 8-foot fence, and we finally,
That was just
On
on the
6th
side,
Street.
wasn't it?
Hmm.
That was.
Yeah, on one side.
It was just one side.
Yeah. And we convinced them to come down 8 feet to 6 feet.
If a property owner wanted to put up a 10-foot fence,
Yeah,
side or backyard, and the house is not on the corner, they would need a certificate of appropriateness. For any fence, they would need a certificate of appropriateness.
currently.
Yeah.
The way it is
Do
now.
we want to continue? And I don't have any problem either way. I just, when I was reading this, it's, hey, wait a minute, maybe we
Well, that's
don't
why-
need to be doing that.
That's why I keep coming back to the conditions. Well, what you just said could be amended into the preservation ordinance, that the guidelines we've just stipulated, nothing beyond the facade in the front and nothing over 6 feet. If that's an amendment to the preservation ordinance, then it doesn't need to come before us at all. But it does need to come
Well-
for a building permit, so that those stipulations,
So that we get everything else before you.
not before us, before the builder.
Building
No,
code.
I can, they only get to you because they have to get a building permit. When you come and say, I want to do something, and we issue a building permit for it, that triggers the question of whether.
100%. Within 100% of the time within the
Well,
historic district?
if you remove.
I didn't
all-
realize that.
if
Well,
you
no, I
re-
mean, for everything that's covered by the design guidelines.
Right.
If you remove all approval for the type of construction, I can build you some fences that you don't want in your backyard if you happen to be the neighbor to this guy.
Well, it's-
I've
and,
But
had
then
people
that's
build
not-
fences with
yeah.
Corrugated steel.
the springs out of old mattresses.
Yeah.
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 And I think somewhere in the system, either building permit or landmarks, somebody has to have some guidance as to
What's okay
what
and what's not.
they should, what is acceptable.
But it may not be landmarks that need to do that. It may need the neighbors to protest about.
The problem is if a neighbor comes to me and says, I don't like the fact that this guy's building a fence out of box springs,
Yeah.
I don't have any way to keep him from doing it.
No, the only.
There's
the only-
nothing in
Okay.
the building code
Yeah,
that says the
that's-
fence has to be made out of any particular material.
Right.
The only recourse you have, and I've seen this happen, is you build a fence up against his fence that has a better appearance, and that's kind of ridiculous.
Well,
Now you're forcing someone to spend money they wouldn't otherwise have had
Yeah.
to spend.
well, and like where I lived before, it made a difference on which way the fence was faced. My neighbor had to take his fence down because his fence, it was a wooden dog ear type fence, and the slats were like all on the inside. But because he wanted that fence, the slats should have been on the outside. So it was
Who made him do that?
the city.
No.
Nothing in the code.
Well, not here.
Oh,
Oh.
Not here, where I lived before.
And most of the time, people put the wood facing
The prettier,
into the property.
what the,
Because
it
you don't-
was
you
there
don't
is
give
that the
your
prettier
neighbors
should have been on the
anything, you wanna
outside
give
for the
something.
neighbors.
I thought there was
Well, I-
standards.
So I mean, maybe something like that, so that their neighbors couldn't say,
we either have to adopt fence standards or do away with the permit process. I don't want to do away with the permit process and in a way that removes fences, reasonable control over fences from your consideration. On the other hand, I don't think I want to create a whole nother set of fence regulations that apply anywhere in the city, because it's just more regulation that doesn't really suit the purpose.
Well, so the way I see it, there's two ways to handle it, and that is, one, leave the status quo
Could do
and
that.
make it easy, or have the planning and zoning administrator have administrative purview to make the judgment.
Well, yeah, okay. Let's,
We've gone back and
if your
forth.
concern is, if you are satisfied with wooden fences, 6 feet in height along the side and the back, then I can do that. The mayor's fence probably shouldn't have come before you under those circumstances. I mean, it's not visible from the street, it's, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And it's 6 foot.
and, yeah, it's 6 feet or less. I think that's reasonable. And that would just require me to amend the historic preservation ordinance. We don't have to do anything with the ZAC ordinance.
Yeah.
Then if somebody comes to you with if somebody comes and says, I want a 10-foot fence in the historic district, I go, that's got to get a certificate or whatever,
Or no.
or just no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that 10-foot fences aren't appropriate somewhere.
Right. But
But
you
if
can do
somebody
either
puts
or.
in if somebody puts in a chain link fence, not within the historic district, they still, right now, they have to come down and permit,
Building permit.
right, to put the fence up.
And what
But
I'm
they don't have to
saying
come to,
is if you come to me and say, I want to put a chain link fence up, I have no standards to apply to your fence. I'm not approving anything other than the installation of a fence. I don't have spacing, I don't have tension requirements, I don't have fabric requirements, I don't have anything. And I don't think we want to have anything. But if we're not going to have anything, then maybe we shouldn't be issuing permits for it. But I didn't want to just do away with permits and negate the design guidelines in the process.
well, I would think we need the permits in order to make sure we don't get something crazy. And
I
that,
can't prevent it.
huh?
Once I issue a building permit, I don't have any way of telling anybody
Then leave it.
what materials to use,
Well, no,
how high it
no,
can be.
Right,
What are your main concerns about a fence?
I don't know.
Height?
You know,
Do you care if the guy puts up a chain link fence out there someplace that's not in the historic district?
in other jurisdictions,
Downtown, and in the historic district, yeah, you want wood.
in other
just like Frank was
jurisdictions,
saying.
permits are not required for any fence 6 feet or less. They only start getting concerned about it when it gets excess height,
Okay.
which may be what we need to do when we revise our building codes.
Building codes?
Well,
Wood revising. Building
The-
code.
if I'm going to issue a building permit for a fence, I want some standards against which that fence can be judged by the building inspector. Otherwise, I don't see, we have no standards for approval or disapproval, what the
The
point is.
IBC doesn't have that?
Only when they get above a certain.
Well, can't we just give them a list of, this is the material that you can use?
Yes, we could
You
do
can't
that.
use bed springs.
Yeah.
It's right here.
And this is the height you can use.
We're talking about fences. other
But,
fences.
you know,
Other
but
fences,
you can go for a variation of it or something, or, you know, if you don't like that.
You know, you can cover it by customary wood, metal, or
Well, it says here,
vinyl
concrete block,
materials or
chain
something,
link,
yeah.
unfaced concrete.
Yeah, well, they're
Yeah,
talking
but
now,
that's-
Yeah,
it's
we're
outside.
off landmarks now.
Yeah.
All right, well, your guidance, I think, is
Give you
clear,
something.
and I appreciate it, and I'll act accordingly. Lauren, Brenda issue, when you got your certificate of appropriateness, did you get something? Like a letter? There's some forms I've seen in her files that were issued. Did you recall ever receiving anything from her after you got your approval?
I don't recall that we did.
Okay. There's no actual certificate, although I've seen
Yeah.
samples of them in the files.
In applications I've done, I've never received anything regarding that.
Okay, you just got the vote,
Yeah.
and it's a matter of record. And
And then
The building
permit.
permit, yeah,
Yeah.
which confirms
that's
the
what I
vote.
think.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't remember getting, but I
We've
think
never
it's a
even
building.
considered what such a form would look like or content.
I can show
would
you
be.
Yeah.
samples.
Samples.
Somebody
right.
considered
Okay.
But I mean, it's never been voted on in this year
Yeah,
I don't want to create more paper.
to do that.
okay, all right. Citizens' input. Anybody wants, nobody? Okay. Other business not on the agenda. Anything else? Nobody?
I'm
Okay.
not sure exactly what that means.
Yeah, well, then,
It's a good point.
call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Okay.